Good afternoon. This is Blu Laker at Radio Tribune, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're at 717 South 9th Street. That's the corner of 9th and Charleston. By all means, come by and see us or call in to the station because we want to hear your comments and what you have to say. What's on your mind? And what can we do about it? Well, today, I forgot my glasses, so I'm going to be held to memory. And, you know, I've been very, very fortunate in my life in that I've had good health. I don't want to say I haven't had perfect health because I don't believe anybody has. But I've been blessed going through my life to be able to enjoy good health. And for that, I'm very thankful to God. Thankful. Praise the Lord. Well, anyway, today, you know, we've had a lot of news again. We keep hearing this repetitive dogma of the Democratic Party, just one thing after another that they have to slam Trump with. And simple things, little things, nothing of any significance. Now, you could say, well, what about Russia? I don't know. What about Hillary Clinton? What about Benghazi? We could talk about all of those things, and we should, under the right circumstances, with the people who have been getting away with murder for years. Those people, at some point, we got to put a stop to this. That is to say, we cannot continue down the same road with all the political incorrectness that is taking place in Washington, D.C. Whether it happens to be sexual predation or what, we're just so tired of hearing about it. And you would think that with your elected officials like that who earn tremendous amounts of money and only need to complete 2 terms in order to have a pension for the rest of their life. Wow. No wonder they spend so much money in trying to get elected. So, you know, we have a lot going on in the system, but again, I was talking about Donald Trump and the fact that they are demeaning. They are totally ridiculous charges that haven't been proven. Accusations are one thing, proof is another. And I don't believe that we can hang a microphone on any president when they're going to visit with other dignitaries. Would it be nice? Well, yes, but unfortunately that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. And a lot of the things that are happening today remind me of the fact that we have rights here with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and that they need to be obeyed. It's no different than the 10 Commandments, but the 10 Commandments are laid out on a block of stone, I think. The point is we do know about them. And we don't have to have 6 or 7 rooms with nothing but documents and papers stacked to the roof to understand that there are rules and regulations to a lot of things, but the simple regulations are really what govern us. In other words, the basics. What are the basics? Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not commit murder. Love thy neighbor as yourself. On and on. Simple rules that we need to observe in order to be able to be a moderate, at least a Christian community that allows us to carry on life in a very responsible way. That's what it's all about, is responsibility, dedication. It's funny that when you're a family man, as I have been, I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, that the responsibility was part of the role that I assumed as a parent. And I respected that responsibility, and I loved my children. Children are very special. in some cases, they're extra special or even difficult. And we need to keep that in mind, that life is not necessarily easy. But family life is critical to to bringing up children, to educating them, to make sure that they have a mindset that they're going down the right path rather than the wrong. And families are the ones that institute and instill that information into the children. As a matter of fact, it's so great, the love and response that we get from children, spontaneous, overwhelming. Just watching them grow, just making sure that they have the tools and things that they're going to need in adulthood. Those are the things and the responsibilities of parents. Now, the reason I mention that is because our leaders are supposed to be taking on the same responsibility and taking care of their children. Well, it's broken down a little bit differently, you see. That is to say, we elect people to the state office, and then we elect people to the federal office. And they're like our parents because they tell us what to do. Oh, yes, they tell us what to do. Isn't that true? Well, I mean, if there's only 535 members of Congress, and there's 330 million people here in the United States, what are they acting like? Oh, fools, yes, we know about that. But what's their responsibilities as quote-unquote parents or guardians of the estate? What is the estate? The estate is the United States of America. That's the estate. And we should guard our estate, our home, and we have the right to protect our state, our home, and our country. And we have an obligation according to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that says that if we have regrieve with our government, that we have the right to defend not just ourselves, but the country. And all that's gotten kind of mixed up in the last 200 and some years. As a matter of fact, we see an erosion of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But that's not what the forefathers said. The forefathers said inalienable rights. Inalienable rights. That includes the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment. Oh, but we're going to wash that one away. We're going to take the guns away. Fat chance. There's more guns in America than there are Americans. The sad part is the ones that need to have the guns taken away, we can't find. And so I'm going to point out a little reference to that. Historical information, if you were. That for every guerrilla during the Civil War, it took 50 regular troops to try to contain them. 50. So I'll relate that today to today's circumstances. Imagine with 330 million people in the United States, and all of us are rogues. Well, of course, that's not true. But there are people who rob, kill, maim, deface buildings and monuments. And so when we have these things happen to us, we then decide to take action. Isn't that a little bit too late after the fact? We really need to do things before the fact. And we need to instill those ideas into the growing population, the future generations, the people who are going to be here after we are gone. Now, I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape right now, but that could change tomorrow. And it could change tomorrow for each and every one of us if we're not careful. You think some of this gutter talk that's going on with the Democratic Party is significant? Well, let me tell you something that's minor, nothing, dirt, demeaning, and I would believe in some cases even personal assassination. Yes, character assassination. And I believe that we got to stop some of this. Look, everybody wants facts and information and would like to be able to rely on all the information. But all of us know, or most of us know, that you can't believe anything that you hear, or you can't believe anything that you read, because most of the time it's been changed from the original intent. What I'm trying to establish today is that those who represent us as quote-unquote mothers and fathers of the American public, or legislators, or senators, or assemblymen, and so forth, they have a moral obligation to do exactly that. Look at us as your children. And how would you treat your children? And if you would abuse your children, then you would abuse us. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens. But we need to instill more value into everyone's life, to give them the opportunity of being successful, and to make sure that they don't go down the wrong path. Because it's so easy to get caught up in today's world. And when I say that, I'm talking about drugs, alcohol, even tobacco, amphetamines, and all the rest of the stuff. And how would you like to have your child hooked on that? Maybe die from that? Is it worthwhile for you to allow that to happen to your children? I think not. I think that most Americans can appreciate the family value. And guess what? That's what we're asking for out of Congress and the Senate. We need to have that kind of a relationship with our representatives, or we need to get rid of them and get somebody that can do it. Sounds like a simple solution, doesn't it? Sure. But then why aren't we doing it? Why do we have to take the long way around? Why do we have to weed them out one at a time, or not even able to weed them out because they have quote-unquote executive privileges? Oh yeah, they have executive privileges like their own special insurance program, about retirement after 2 terms, about no term limits, about things that you would not want to even discuss on the radio or television that have occurred within the legislative branches of government. And it goes beyond that. It goes down into the lower tiers, the FBI, the CIA. My goodness, it goes everywhere. Where are the values and views that we need to come together with and on? Well, I believe that it is doable. I think it is necessary. I believe that God saw it that way. And He's allowed us to continue down this road of ups and downs, and said at the same time, I'm coming back. But when I come back, you will recognize me, and there will be peace and order for 1,000 years. So what is it going to take to get there? A catastrophic event? Yes, that's probably what's going to be necessary, a catastrophic event, because you see, we have 9 billion people on the face of the earth, and in my opinion, that's just way too many. Now, you would say, well, all right, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to do anything about it because it's in the hands of others, and especially in the hands of the Lord. But when we talk about catastrophic events, are we talking about something that our quote-unquote civil parents, legislators, have ignored? Or have put aside because there are other pressing matters? Like what someone said to someone, who said something to someone who doesn't know where he got the information from? Why are we wasting our time and our money? Even television time costs. Now maybe they absorb it because they're giving the news and they have contributors, well, people who place ads, for example, that pays for it. And of course, good news doesn't travel very far, and it doesn't travel very fast. It's only the bad news. And when you don't have that news, make it up. It's happening. It's happening, and what are we going to do about it? Do we have the ability to... Oh, I got another question before we answer that. Where do we start? We better decide what the priorities need to be. The first priority, as I see it, is what the potential threat is from North Korea. Because if they have intermediate ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, we got a problem. We got a problem because they can load nuclear warheads. We got a problem because they can explode an ICBM missile in outer space and knock out the entire electric for a country, a whole country, such as the United States, or some of the other smaller countries at the same time. But that would leave us paralyzed. There would, according to estimates, we would lose 70 to 90% of the population in less than a year. 70 to 90% of the population in less than a year. Are there safeguards against EMP? Well, yeah, you can look up on the sky and see if it's coming. But right now, currently, we have no defense about for an intercontinental ballistic missile. No defense. We have it for mid-range and low range, but not the big ones, not the intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're a breed of their own. And there's a few countries that have them. So it doesn't have to be North Korea that could do this. It could be, well, it could be China. And I'm not suggesting that China is thinking about that. But somebody must be thinking about it because we all know about it. Most of us know about it. I don't know that you can imagine how much damage, how chaotic and confusing it would be if that happens here in the United States or even in one city or state. Because everything would come to an absolute standstill. Yes, your car, even if your car ran, but it won't because it's electronic, you wouldn't be able to pump gas. You wouldn't be able to pump water. You wouldn't have any electrical current. Your refrigeration wouldn't work. Your refrigerator wouldn't work. Well, maybe those are mute matters to you, but they're significant when you put them together. Can you imagine 20, 30, 40 miles on the highway of bumper-to-bumper cars who cannot move? They cannot move because the electrical systems are done, finished, wiped out. Could they be restarted? Well, I guess that's possible. But if they knocked out all of the batteries in all of those cars, where are they going to get the supplies? And then the next question is how you want to get them to them. And during that period of waiting, what will the people do? Walk to the nearest exit? Walk home 20, 30 miles or more? And after they get home, what do they have? A house with no lights, a house with no water, a house with no heat, no food because the refrigerator has stopped working. And they can't go to the grocery store because the grocery store's got the same conditions. They're closed down. Or even if they were allowed to operate for a few hours after the catastrophic events, they would be wiped out almost instantly in terms of people coming in to buy or steal the food that they know that they must have in order to survive. And if the calculations are correct, about 70 to 90% of the population in America being destroyed and dying, what and where would we do with all the bodies? How would we move them back and forth? How would we, where would there be mass graves? And how do you have mass graves for 250 million people? We're going to burn them? Well, maybe. I don't know. But I do know it's not something that we want to see happen. It's something that we can avoid, but we're not going to do it unless we decide to negotiate with these people. And if we have to give them concessions. And you say, well, you can't do that. You can't talk to North Korea. Well, you can talk to anybody. Talk is cheap. Action requires a little bit more time. But when the stakes are that great, and by the way, North Korea is not out of the loop. It doesn't mean that we can't do the same thing to North Korea. But if we do it to North Korea and it affects some of the Chinese who are on their border, now we have another problem. And we don't know who would rally behind North Korea, whether or not they would want to retaliate in kind. Because, after all, we do have enemies. All of us. That's why we have wars, is because we have enemies and they pop up all over the place. Let's look at the other example, another prime example of problems is ISIS. And yes, we're trying to deal with ISIS, but it's a little bit confusing. You see, the United States is backing the rebels, which, for lack of understanding, I guess, I don't understand how we could back the rebels and supply them with arms, ammunition, and money to continue the fight against the Syrian government who were properly elected. Well, I don't like Assad. Well, okay. We didn't like Saddam Hussein either. We didn't like the leader of Libya. We didn't like people. You know, liking or disliking a person has really nothing to do with the safety and security of the nation. What has to be taken into consideration is, are they friend or foe? Well, in some of the cases that we just mentioned, we do know that at one time Iraq and Saddam Hussein was an ally of the United States. Even Gaddafi was an ally of the United States at one time. And Osama bin Laden used to fight for the U.S. How did we manage to turn these people around to become villains? I'm not saying they weren't, but how did that happen? Was there something that we said, did, against them, against their people, against their religion? I don't know. But it isn't a time that we found out what was taking place. Isn't it time that we address the issues that are on the table instead of all this bickering and demeaning that we're doing against our own government? Are we going to get into another civil war? And what will that war look like? What will it look like? Is it going to be North against the South, East against the West? Is it going to be conservative versus liberals? You know, Democrats and Republicans? Is it going to be special groups, organizations, Muslims, for example, against America? Is it going to be Mexicans against Americans? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. And if I had one, I probably couldn't read it because I don't have my glasses. But the point is that we're in desperate times. The point is that we need to address these issues. I don't care if it's one at a time. Let's get them done, even if it is one at a time, to show that we're making progress and we're working together to keep America safe, to make America great again, to make America number one. And take care of, as you're always told, number one first. Now, number one is you, your family. Number two is you, your country. And number three is you, your religion. Those are three things that you need to take care of in order to have a secure place for your children. Well, I don't know how old you are. Maybe you're young, or maybe you're old like me. Well, that's what everybody tells me. So I guess it must be true because I don't carry a mirror around with me all the time. But the point is that we have responsibilities as human beings. We have responsibilities as parents. And they, the legislative body, have responsibility, and the same responsibility to us as members of their family. Yes, it could be the state of Nevada, and it could be our Nevada representatives that are our fathers, because after all, we almost have to take orders from them on a daily basis. So, you know, we invite criticism here. We ask you to call in, to be part of America again, to voice your opinion, because there's always two sides to an argument. Always two sides to an argument. And we're at 717 9th Street, South 9th Street in Las Vegas. That's at Charleston and 9th. In addition to that, you can call me. I'm Blu Laker at 702-743-8297. That's 702-743-8297. This is Cobra USA, and this is Blu Laker. I want to remind you one more thing, that we have a weekly publication that goes out. Now, it's an internet connection, so that kind of makes it easy for you. You don't have to buy a paper or subscribe or anything else. All you got to do is plug it in. It's called the Las Vegas Tribune, and it's a weekly publication with lots of good information and some great advertisers in there for you to look up. So when it comes time to making decisions, why don't you try to be part of that decision-making process by getting involved and let us know what your opinions and thoughts are. Again, this is Blu Laker, Radio Tribune, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.